So my husband produces events in and around London, and on this occasion, his client at the British Museum was holding a Bridgerton-themed party. So she asked me and my costume friends to come along and up the costume game. And this is the dress I made for the party. I also made my husband a costume, so you'll see that later on. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoy this video of the making of this dress. When I design a new costume, I usually like to get inspired by the fabrics, and my favourite place in London to go fabric shopping is Goldhawk Road. There's so much variety there, it's just a bit overwhelming. I found this brocade-like fabric that looks like embroidered lace, and a pale blue tulle and this satin which I got from a second-hand shop. I do love a pastel colour, so I took inspiration from the Bridgerton family. I love how the designer layers fabrics. For example, a tulle over a satin. I think it gives it more depth and delicacy, and this is something I'd like to explore more with my gown. And I just want to mention Penelope's wedding dress. The satin and the tulle complement each other so well. This reminds me of mine, and I just had to get it out to show you. After doing an initial design, I draped the fabrics on the stand to make sure it looked right. And I could also play around with decoration with a little inspiration from the show. It's always good to steam your fabrics thoroughly before you cut, and in this case the main fabric shrunk quite a lot. I used my pattern from my last Regency dress, so I was able to get this cut out quite quickly. The fabric had to be hung on the stand to drop, and as you can see, the lines are drooping down at the side where it's cut on the bias. The satin unfortunately has faded in places, but as it's just for the lining, you won't see it. The main skirt and the lining skirt have extra panels as the fabric wasn't wide enough. However, the tulle could be cut out as a whole piece. I pinned the main skirt on the stand so the seams could hang evenly. Once all three skirt layers were sewn together at the side seams, they could be attached together at the waist. I layered the bodice fabric with a light stretchy fusing to give it a bit of structure. The top fabric and the lining pieces could then be sewn together along with the darts at the bust. I pinned the bodice on the stand and was able to drape the tulle over the top. I could have made lots of gathers here, but the fabric underneath already has so much detail, so I decided to just do a dart at the bust to keep it looking delicate. Once the tulle was pinned in place at the front and cut down, I moved on to the back, adding in some lovely directional pleats, and then it was all hand stitched in place. Now it's time for piping, and I bet you will love this foot changer tool. The thinnest cord I could find at home was some garden string. I totally forgot to add the tulle in here, so I had to go over it with another stitch. I cut down the seam allowance of the piping to 1 centimetre so I could line this up with the seam allowance of the neckline. That way you don't have to pin it together. I then layered the lining on top and sewed close to the edge of the piping. I then trimmed down the seam allowance on the neckline for a smoother edge. Now back on the stand, I pinned both layers together and hand stitched that down, making sure that both layers lay flat together. For the sleeves, I found this beautiful reference in this book, and of course from the show in season 1. I've done a lot of wedding dresses over the years, so fortunately I have many scraps of lace to play with. I used to work in a bridal shop and learnt a lot from my mentor and good friend Patricia. I love working with lace and layering pieces together. As I was not feeling particularly patient at this time, I used the freehand setting on my machine. I had to take the foot off as it was catching on the beads. And as you can see, I've layered the tulle over the satin. It gives a really nice texture. The sleeves were then gathered at the shoulder and the cuff and sewn into the bodice. Once the sleeves were in, I could sew the bodice to the skirt at the front to the side seams, as I still had to work out the size of the pleats at the back. This is not my favourite part of the process, but I managed to match up the end pleat with the back bodice seam, so I'm quite happy with it. I decided to replace some of the lace on the sleeves with more delicate pieces to replicate the design of the main fabric. I then blended it all together with some pearl beads. I had some tulle left over, so I used this to create a little train at the back. This was sewn to the dress on one side, and then it would be attached with hooks and bars on the other, with little thread catches under the waistband. I also added some lace and beads to the front neckline, and I'm sure I will add to this over time. The rest of the lining could then be hand stitched into place, and I added hooks and bars to the back opening and invisible poppers to the skirt opening. For the hem, I did a blind hem stitch on my machine, and you can just play around with the settings and find the right tension for your fabric. You could use a normal foot for this, but a specialised one does help to line up the fabric. Depending what fabric you're sewing with, the stitches can sometimes be quite invisible, but not so much for my satin here. Fortunately, I had some of this fabric left, so I made my lucky husband a matching waistcoat. I also made him a blue velvet frock coat inspired by, of course, Mr. Darcy. And this is cut from a pattern in one of my costume books. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to film this. I think it's turned out alright, although the collar does stick out a bit and the front waistline is a bit too high. It was a lovely evening at the British Museum, and my friends and I had a great time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.